Will, do you think he should hold out?
No, I don't, because I think holding out is a negotiating tool. Holding out is leverage to get what you want. But the deadline is passed, as we talked about this morning. Le'Veon Bell cannot sign a long-term deal until after this season. He's now going to play, or not, under the franchise tag. So there's nothing for Le'Veon Bell to leverage himself into at this point. There's nothing for him to negotiate into. If, as Jeff Darlington just heard say, all it is to prevent injury, all it is to keep yourself healthy, all it is try to make it to that last year of your contract. Can we get a running list of players who are in that exact situation? How many players are in the last year of their contract? How many players would like to avoid getting injured in training camp? The list has got to be incredibly long. And is holding out a valid reason for those two motivations? Because if so, we're going to start seeing a lot of holdouts.
See, you're missing.
Not those that are looking for negotiating positions.
But you're missing out on why he should hold out. See, this is where you're missing out. He needs to hold out. Because for Le'Veon Bell, in his first 4 years in the NFL, he's missed 20 games. So that's about an average of 5 games per year. For me, Le'Veon Bell is not just I call him a joker. Because when you look at him on the football field, he can do so many things. But that being said, his biggest thing is just to be healthy. He has not been throughout his career. He's only played a full 16 games once. But his first playoff appearance was last year. And when they needed him most throughout his career so far, he has not been healthy in the biggest of games. Case in point, last year, the AFC Championship game. He gets hurt very early in that game. So why would I overwork myself, overuse myself? I don't need to be at training camp, Will. If I'm Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to stay at home. I'm going to relax. I'm going to continue to work out, get my body ready, and then show up to training camp probably a week before the season starts. And this team is still able to win with Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant. And we saw last year in their first 2 games what D'Angelo Williams did. He had over 150 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns. So he can ease his way back into this football team and be healthy when they need him most, which is the playoffs.
Kurt, I can't even believe you're coming out your mouth like what you're saying right now. Here, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to hear. I'm going to tell you why. Yeah, I am. I'm going to tell you why right now.
Please.
Because you know, as I know, there is no substitute for putting on pads and getting in football shape. I don't care how many hills you run or whatever you do on the treadmill. Nothing simulates football better than being out there in pads and training camp. Now, there's been precedents from other teams and players how to handle a situation like this. The Minnesota Vikings took care of Adrian Peterson. You never seen him play in a preseason game. Right. Doesn't mean he didn't participate in training camp. The LA Chargers, formerly known as the San Diego Chargers, they took care of LaDainian Tomlinson, made sure that he didn't play in preseason games, but he still practiced in training camp. We saw with the Dallas Cowboys with Dez Bryant, when Dez Bryant had a contractual issue, he held out. That was the year Dez Bryant was going through all those injuries with his hamstring. You know why? Because you need training camp to get into football shape. It will work against Le'Veon Bell to hold out because he's going to be more susceptible to being injured during the season.
But last year,
if this is about should, if this is about should or not, I'm going to let you football guys determine whether or not it's best for you to be involved in training camp or not. But that's simply not the debate, because if we're talking about a holdout, that's different. Holdouts are about contracts. Holdouts are about negotiations. Holdouts are about leverage. Kurt, what you're talking about is something different. You're asking for a hall pass, not a holdout. He's suggesting he should get special privileges because he gets injured a lot. And as Damian said, the team agrees with him, as they did with Adrian Peterson, or they did with LaDainian Tomlinson, then great, so be it. But that's not a holdout, okay? Trying to avoid training camp is not a holdout.
That's a vet move.
That's something else.
So 2 years ago when Eric Berry, one of the best safeties in the National Football League, he played on the franchise tag, and guess what? He didn't show up until literally a week before training camp. He got his legs underneath him. He played week 1 and actually, I think, had 2 interceptions that game, and then played the rest of the season and got rewarded with a big-time contract. You said it yesterday, Damian. Your availability is almost better than your ability. So for a guy like Le'Veon Bell, his ability, we know, but his availability when his team needed him most is where he's been lacking. So if I don't have to take those extra shots, if I don't have to do extra practices, but get my body ready for when I'm ready to play, this team has shown me that they have won.
Should Ben Roethlisberger, and to use your term, should Ben Roethlisberger hold out? He's had some injury problems in the past. Should he hold out?
We're talking about have you seen a quarterback at training camp, Will?
Well, we can keep doing.
I mean, they can go to the golf course.
The issue is,
we're talking
my argument doesn't
I
rest
don't
on
worry
one
about-
guy. I can come up with a ton of guys who get injured. Should they all hold out and not go to training camp?
It's not a holdout, though.
Exactly.
It's not a holdout. What he's doing to me, what I think he should do is he doesn't have to sign his contract. That's all it is. It's a contract that they presented to him. Whenever he decides to sign, then he goes to training camp. That's all it is. They didn't give him a deal, and so he's like, all right, I'll sign my tender when I'm ready.
I've been on this desk with you now for a few days.
Yes.
Yes or no? Did you criticize Le'Veon Bell for his availability?
For his availability? You have to, yes.
So now you're saying that he shouldn't show up, even though you yesterday were saying that his availability was a reason that undervalued
You understand what I'm saying? His availability in the playoffs and when his team needs him most. So I want him to be healthy then. I don't care about what he's doing right now or before the season starts because I saw this team win without him a year ago. And so I want him to ease his way and to have less games, less practice time, less for him because I want him to feel as full and fresh when the playoffs come because last year it may have been a different game had he been healthy.
Kurt, that's not even how football works, and you know that. Everyone
But it
knows
doesn't work for
it
me.
It doesn't. No.
It's a running back. It's a different position,
The fact that you're old school, I'm old school. You know how the game works. You need to have pads on to get yourself physically prepared to play in a season. This whole notion, I'm just going to be sitting back chilling, and I'm going to just sit back the whole training camp, and then all of a sudden just show up, prior to week one, and then expect to just explode. That's just not. It's not reality. It's not reality. Yes, you brought up Eric Berry, but I can bring up a ton of other people who have not practiced in training camp, and then they go out there tearing Achilles.
Okay.
Tearing ACL. Why? Because they're not in football shape.